Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for the webinar, Supplier Diversity, Opportunities to Tap into Supply Chains. So once again, my name is Stephanie Fontaine, and I am the Vice President of Business Development at WeBe Canada. We're an organization whose mandate is to be the bridge between corporate and public procurement and Canadian women enterprises. It's my great pleasure today to host the webinar on behalf of the Hire Immigrants Program. It's based out of Ryerson University in Toronto. The Hire Immigrants Program provides a platform for employers and stakeholders, both in the for-profit and nonprofit sectors, to find and share practical solutions to the types of challenges we'll be talking about today. So sponsoring today's webinar is RBC Royal Bank of Canada, and they are the exclusive corporate sponsor of the Hire Immigrants Program. RBC is a leader in the financial services sector and in the wider Canadian business community. They are innovators in products and services that support newcomers to Canada, both on the personal and business side of things. So as a result, many of RBC's colleagues approach their work through lived experience with immigration to Canada. And that rich diversity, no doubt, drives much of the passion and innovation. Immigrants start businesses at a faster rate than Canadian-born residents, and setting up newcomer entrepreneurs for success really makes good business sense for Canada's economy and our communities in general. However, we know that there are some distinct challenges that immigrants face that can affect the success and growth of their business. Importantly, the topic of today's webinar session is intended to provide one avenue to help mitigate some of those challenges, not supplier diversity. Supplier diversity programs are becoming an important priority for many corporate procurement teams, and it aligns itself with broader corporate diversity and inclusion policies. So as part of a commitment to diversity and inclusion, many companies are now taking into consideration which businesses they buy their products and services from. There is greater importance placed on ensuring that there is a diverse base of suppliers within a company's supply chain. Supplier diversity is increasingly recognized as a competitive advantage in offering access to greater innovation and culturally diverse business interactions. And this, in turn, positions companies well to meet the needs of diverse customer base in Canada. So for diverse business owners, supplier diversity is a market access opportunity. Joining us for today's webinar are two central players in supplier diversity programs, a large company with a corporate supplier diversity program and a diverse supplier business owner. These two experts will provide us with an overview of what it means to be a diverse supplier and the ways diverse business owners can leverage supplier diversity to tap into supply chains of large companies. So today we have Kiruba Shankar. He is the Director of Procurement, IT Professional Services at RBC Royal Bank of Canada. In his role, Kiruba manages all the IT professional services at RBC. Of particular interest to this webinar is his management of the Supplier Diversity Program and Corporate Social Responsibility Program at RBC. So Kiruba approaches his work through a multi-dimensional lens, given his over 25 years of experience in a variety of roles related to global technology business management, including his start as a systems engineer. So Kiruba, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today, and welcome. Our second presenter is Anila Zaid, and she is the CEO and founder of Emergitel and represents the other side of the supplier diversity dichotomy as a diverse business owner. Emergitel is Canada's best managed and growing recruitment agency and has become the go-to source for hard-to-find skills in the telecommunications and IT industries. Emergitel has been ranked twice in Profit 500 as one of Canada's fastest-growing companies. As Emergitel's founder and CEO, Anila Zaid is highly regarded for her entrepreneurial spirit and emphasis on values in the workplace. Anila was recently recognized by EY as one of North America's top women entrepreneurs and brings with her a wealth of knowledge and expertise in building a successful business. Thank you so much, Anila, for being with us today, and welcome. So before we begin, a quick word about who else is in the virtual room. We have with us today entrepreneurs and service providers. We are primarily a Canadian group, but we do have some international members joining us. So welcome to our Canadian participants, some returning and some new, and welcome to our international colleagues and participants. So we'll first hear briefly from each of our presenters, then we'll open it up to you, our listeners, for a moderated question and answer period. So let's begin with the Corporate Supplier Diversity Program at RBC. Karuba, please tell us more about the formal program you have in place and what we need to know about supplier diversity programs.
Hi there, this is Karuba Sankar from RBC. Stephanie, thank you very much for the introduction. And I also want to thank Ryerson team and Higher Immigration team for giving us an opportunity today to talk about supplier diversity program at RBC. At RBC, we have been, strongly supporting supplier diversity program for over 15 years. Today is a good opportunity for us to showcase this to many of the entrepreneurs or future entrepreneurs who is coming into this country to establish various companies. Our focus today is to provide, the overview of the supply diversity program, and also to address, where are the opportunities and how they could be explored, and how you could be able to accomplish on getting into the supply diversification, and also some of the benefits of how this program works and how to become a diverse supplier as well. So what does supplier diversity mean, right? So today, many of the large corporations looking to buy products and services to diverse supplier base. We are trying to level set the playing field by, inviting various diverse suppliers and also provide them an opportunity to participate on the sourcing process so that they will get an opportunity to bid for those requirements. So in looking at the requirements from the corporate side, we kind of look at it, who are the supplier base, who are diverse suppliers, and extend the offers for them to participate in the sourcing process. So how do you look at it, who are the diverse suppliers are? Generally, for all the business who are for profit running the business, who are all in the business 51% and controlled and managed by people who belong to either Aboriginals or visible minority or LGBT or service disabled veterans or persons with disability or women owned. These are the owners who run the business or manage the business who qualify as diverse suppliers. Today in Canada, we have 3 different councils who provide certification to become diverse suppliers. And along with me today, we have WB Canada, And also along in the line, I guess, we have CAMC and CGLCC, who has been supporting this program and certifying suppliers in different classifications. At RBC, we have a formal supplier diversity program, and it has been, we look at it on a every 3 years basis to review the program and update the program. We also embed this program into our day-to-day procurement activities by helping, to provide the opportunity for our diverse suppliers. We kind of work with all the 3 councils and obtain their certified supplier database, and in turn we try to provide those database to our internal procurement category managers to provide an opportunity to invite them to various. So what does supplier diversity, value add we get through this process? At RBC, we look at the supplier diversity program. It also provides business value as well as social value and economic value. When you look at the business value, there are various benefits provides us. One is our innovation. Doing this opportunity of bringing diverse suppliers will help us to bring innovation much faster and the service level with a much quicker, and to have a better pricing and quality from our suppliers. And it also aligns with our core value within RBC towards the diversity. It also provides new opportunities for both as our business as well as our suppliers. This in turn enables the small business in the community to grow as well. Which again, if you look at from the social value, if the local business are able to obtain more businesses, it creates job opportunities within the market, which ensures to have a growth in the country, and it also helps our entrepreneurs in the local market. In terms of economic value, it enhances our tax base, and it helps our city to generate more revenue, and it in turn helps our community to prosper. These are some of our principal goals, and then we believe with this value which we drive supply diversity at RBC, it provides us a much competitive offerings and greater innovation and culturally diverse business interaction, which in turn helps RBC to meet our diverse customer base as well. So when you look at what are the benefits being a diverse supplier from the supplier side, for suppliers, it gives us a great opportunity to network within each other and also able to network with many of the corporate buyers. Getting to interact with the corporate buyer, it's a challenging for many of the suppliers, but this forum provides a good opportunity to connect with those buyers directly and able to understand the category requirements and looking at what are the business requirements they have. And also many of the corporations like RBC also provide mentorship and coaching opportunities to these diverse suppliers. So being a certified diverse supplier will be getting an opportunity to get mentorship from these large corporations on how to sell the product and how to win the business with the large corporations. So this enhances them, to participate in various RFPs and enhance to bid and then provide their proposals in the right way. And moreover, it's also able to network along with your other diverse suppliers, where you could be able to build a robust supply chain within yourself and within the other supplier network. This slide here provides, some of the information we have in our website, and the links are able to guide you how to reach us, or if you want to understand more about the program at RBC, you'll be able to view this. And also, if you would like to register as a supplier, you could be able to go into this link and register you as a supplier.
Thank you, Karuba. That was a great overview, and thank you for explaining the benefits of becoming a diverse supplier to our audience here today. So now we're going to shift to Anila and hear about her experience in becoming a diverse supplier.
Thank you, Stephanie. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Higher Immigrant at Ryerson in RBC for initiating this event. I'm going to be very brief. Most of my comments are going to be echoing what Karuba just mentioned. And again, I would like to introduce myself for those of you who missed. My name is Anila Zaid, and I'm the founder and CEO of Emergitel, which is an IT recruitment agency all across Canada. I'm going to walk the audience through the journey. I guess this is a best way to highlight and achieve the objective we are trying to achieve through this webinar. I can present myself as a living example of what was just told. I immigrated as a student and expectant mother in 1998 to Canada. I finished my master's in computer engineering, started work in telecom industry for a couple of years, and in 2006, I put the foundation of Emergitel. Today, Emergitel is a preferred staffing partner with Canada's top telecom and IT companies such as TELUS, Rogers, RBC, Accenture. We have internally 40 employees all across Canada and more than 350 consultants all across different clients that are working on various projects, and we have hired these consultants for them. Emergitel also ranked in the industry as a very serious player with tons of awards and rankings, including the Best Managed that I just received last night for the second time in a row. So this is all very good. I think very I am very thankful to all the partners that made it happen and my internal team. But the question is, how did we do it, and how can we help many other people who are on their journey to be at this stage and be proud of their work and their company? It was not an easy journey, as most of you in the audience can relate to it. Many challenges, just to name a few, are the financial ones when you're starting your business or thinking about it. You already know there's established brands in your field and area of expertise that you have to make your place in the middle of. For me particularly, I came from a technical engineering background, and I did not have any business degree or entrepreneurship experience. And I guess most of you can relate to that as well. So with all of this background, however, I want to emphasize the fact that what mattered at that time was the belief in the idea and the vision, that I wanted to create a difference in the recruitment industry, and also the courage to make it work. perseverance definitely helped. If you feel the ideas are rejected in the initial stages, if you believe in your idea and work, perseverance comes in very handy to not give up and continue going forward. One of the highlights I want to make for all of those young entrepreneurs and started to become an entrepreneur or who want to take it to the next level is that there are a few key factors that can help you think about your company and present it in a way that it becomes most attractive. For us, what worked was that we presented a different idea. We were different. In the recruitment industry that was predominantly occupied by traditional HR recruiters, we presented an idea that included subject matter expertise into the recruitment process. So a simple example of that is that if a client needs a Java developer, we will use a Java developer to qualify that individual. So that's why our candidates were very solid and authentically qualified. Second, we get closer to our clients. We understand their pain points, we understand their challenges, and can pinpoint our solutions that align with those. And we internally want to be an agile operation that is efficient and can better customize to our clients' needs. And you can see on the right-hand side the recognitions that are testimonial to our philosophy and our success model. I want to also walk you through some of the milestones in our journey. As I mentioned, we started the business in 2006. Our first major contract was won in 2009 with TELUS. It was a very hard and difficult RFP where TELUS was eliminating 80 plus suppliers, and they were only to keep 7 preferred staffing partners with them. It was a 4-round RFP, very competitive, and at the end we ended up winning it. And I've highlighted the strategies that helped us win in the last slide. The journey continued. 2 years later, we won the contract of preferred staffing partner with Rogers as well. And from there on, we continued to grow by diversifying into different sectors such as financial and consulting. And the major clients we won at that point were RBC and Accenture. So how does this supplier diversity come into picture? In 2013, we were recommended by one of our clients who are a corporate CAMC, Canadian Aboriginal Minority Supplier Council, and WBE, Women-Based Entrepreneurs member. And this idea, why I need to become a diverse supplier, I thought that it would extend our reach to other corporate clients and also will help us in business. And at that time, I did not know a lot about the benefits. So I just took a step in terms of certifying myself, and especially when the process was not very cumbersome. It literally completed in a few days. I filled out an application which was reviewed by the officials at CAMC and WBE. Some of them came to visit and audit our office, and it was done within a week, and we were given the certificate of a diverse supplier. From there on, it was a huge help in our journey going forward, and how I'll just explain in a minute. So when we got the certification, we received tons of information and education. Very first thing I remember receiving is a toolkit. It was a nice binder that helped us go through and include the certification and the ways on how to leverage the certification in our company's journey. So I will explain some of the benefits later by highlighting them individually. But I just want to tell you from our diverse supply perspective that how I see these two councils. I see them as bridges. It's been explained many times. It almost becomes a stereotype that these guys are bridges, but they are really bridges in my opinion, because they help me save some of the detours that could have taken a lot of time to achieve the same objective that I achieved with them in less time. In my experience, why corporate members are there, as Karuba just highlighted, it's not that this is just a hype. They really want to do business with diverse suppliers, small business owners. And the reason they want to do it is we sometimes have what bigger suppliers might not have. We have the ability to innovate faster. We are agile, and we have depth. This is what makes us attractive for corporate members, and that's the reason they are there to sponsor and support these councils, apart from the corporate social responsibility, of course. And for me, what was the benefit, direct benefits in a very short summary, was I had access to those procurement officials which were literally hard to find for me on my own. And they were there not only just to fill the room, but also to listen, to assess the value, and to provide the feedback for a diverse supplier. For example, my 1-minute pitch, I got a lot of good feedback how to present myself. We only get 5 to 10 minutes for those of you who have been to official meetings with a high official. And that's the time when we need to present ourselves in a very sharp way that we get the attention. So for me, in a nutshell, it is a win-win situation for both parties to be together and work together. And these councils really help make that true. As I said earlier, I want to highlight in this slide some of the specific benefits that my company has achieved, and myself as well, from being member of these two councils. First and foremost is mentoring. As I mentioned, we all start our business from very different domains. I was an engineer, and I didn't have any business experience or entrepreneurship experience. So for me, it was very important to keep growing myself as a leader and get that mentorship that is needed to take my business at each level to the next level. 3 specific programs that I attended, and they have really brought wealth of value, are RBC's Reciprocal One-on-One program. That is a 1-year-long program. It connects a diverse supplier CEO or one official to one of the RBC official who works with them, meets with them throughout the year at a mutually agreed upon time to help them go through some of the mentorship, education, learning, and any challenges they're having. In this particular program, I got a lot of good feedback about the RFPs and how to write them and how to make best use of that. Second one is the SDP program by Accenture. It's called Diverse Supply Diversity Program. This was also a 1-year-long program. We used to meet every 2 months or so with one official in Accenture that can contribute to practically solving some of the problems and advising on how to tackle them. The last one is the TD Supplier Diversity Workshop that is held every quarter, and the diverse suppliers go there and meet with the officials that literally in this case, they focused on the RFP writing aspect. And the value that it was that when you are presenting yourself, sometimes you just think about you and your capabilities, which is good, but also these supplier workshops taught me to focus on some of the areas of improvement that we have and highlight them highlighting them is as important as highlighting your strengths, because they can see through us and they can tell you their insight, what they want to see in you as a potential supplier for them. And that feedback, I think, is very candid, very good, and helps you grow. So what I learned in a nutshell from these mentoring workshops is that it's not always about the lowest price. It's about the highest value. If you are bringing value to these companies, they would definitely help you to come on board and provide your service. It also enabled Emergitel to be more successful in competing and securing business for large bids. So in general, this mentoring really helped me. One more program I want to mention at this this point is also a quantum shift. That was a 5-day rigorous workshop, and I got to participate in this workshop to grow myself as a business leader by registering through one of these councils into those programs. They literally pick 40 CEOs all across Canada to be a member. They take you to Richard Ivey School of Business, where for 5 days they tackle different aspects of your business on how to grow practically. So the business education that I was lacking by not going through MBA program was basically good supplemented by this quantum shift. Second aspect of the benefits, as Karuba also highlighted, were the networking opportunities. And I want to take this point to also clarify a myth that was in my mind, that what's going to happen in these networking events when we go there? We're just going to sit down and talk. So that was pretty much well clarified when I started participating in those networking events. They were really structured in a way to help us get more insight. For example, the Breakfast with Brands event is held by getting together the procurement officials with diverse suppliers to ask specific questions. So it's almost like a customized sort of networking, where it's not a general speech done by an official and you want to get benefit from that. It's basically customized to what you want to ask and get the answers from them. There are annual WBE and CAMC conferences where you can not only work with corporate members within Canada, but they also have international aspect in it. So these events really helped me get access to those potential corporate clients that I was still not working with, not a vendor with, and can work towards becoming their potential vendor. So, so these in a nutshell are some of the benefits that I as a diverse supplier achieved. This is actually highlighted in this slide, which I just spoke about. So what was the result of all this? So from 2013 to 2016, Emergitel continued to grow. We continued to be more efficient for our clients, existing clients. We solidified the relationship with our existing clients, and we are on our way to go even higher level through these platforms and partners that are helping us. So my call to action, this basically brings us to the end of my presentation. So my call to action to all of the audience is, are you ready to take your business to next level and add value to your clients via your innovative solutions and becoming a diverse supplier?
Thank you so much, Anila. That was very comprehensive, and your sharing of your experience and success story, I think, is very inspiring for everyone on this webinar. So now it's time for our conversation and our Q&A session. So your participation is needed because we want to make this as lively and informative as possible. So I ask the participants to use so please move from the chat box and submit your questions into the Q&A box. So we'll get started with a question to Karuba. So RBC is one of Canada's leading champions of supplier diversity. Why is it that there are so few companies with dedicated supplier diversity programs?
Yeah, hi. I think this is a maturity of the program within the country as well. Today, if you look at most of the financial institutes in Canada has been very aggressively supporting this program, and we are looking to see how this expands into the other corporations as well. But we are also requesting government to help on this program. So more and more the support comes from different directions. Programs will get matured in Canada as well.
Thank you, Karuba. You're absolutely right. Supplier diversity is definitely a journey, and by having webinars like this today and sharing information, it can only grow. So we have our next question is for Anila. So when bidding for contracts against other diverse suppliers, what sets you apart? What are some of the challenges you face when competing against other diverse suppliers?
Okay, so this question, as I understand, is specifically geared towards our competitive abilities when we are competing with other diverse suppliers. Yeah. So as I said earlier, our value add to our clients is specifically in the IT domain. So those employers who are working in IT fields and they need special technical skill set, we specialize in that and provide that. So when we respond to a bid, we thoroughly highlight this strength in our RFPs. If there are any other companies who have exactly the same sort of profile that we have, definitely it's going to be a tough competition. But what I have found from my experience, there are not many companies that highlight this model. So we have been pretty much successful once we get to explain our value to our potential corporate members and potential clients, that what is the value we're bringing to them. Yes, if there are other diverse suppliers that are competing, they would definitely need to have similar sort of profile to compete and give us a tough competition. I'm not sure if I have answered the question, but I'm open to explaining further.
Yeah, I think that starts to answer the question, Anila. Thank you very much. So we're just waiting for more questions to come up here from our audience. But I do have one for Karuba, if I may ask. So RBC, as we said during the presentation, does a lot in terms of supplier diversity, and is really a true champion. And one of the activities that I was personally very impressed with was your supplier development workshop that you had last November, and it was focused on a specific category, in that case, marketing services. You're having another one for facilities services coming up soon. So can you tell us a little bit about those workshops, Karuba?
Yeah, sure, definitely. As I mentioned, organizations today who are supporting supplier diversity program, conducting this mentorship program to coach and mentor suppliers. This initiative started more than 3 years back, and we looked at the program for the first 3 years and saw the benefits of the suppliers who was getting in benefit on this mentorship program. But at the same time, we noticed that we were able to do only a few number of suppliers. The initial 3 years we were doing roughly 8 to 10 suppliers per year. But then after 3 years, we started to shift our focus on how could we do this for many suppliers, and also we want to make sure when we conduct this mentorship, we want to give greater value to the suppliers on the business what they deal with. So then we took a shift of providing the mentorship based on a specific category, and invite more of the diverse suppliers, certified suppliers, to benefit the program. So doing that, what we have done is one, we shifted from 8 to 10 per year towards to 25 to 30 supplier per session. And what we also done is we took that sessions more focused into a specific category and invited suppliers, the certified suppliers who are related to that category, what they do business with. So that way, when they come to attend this mentorship sessions, and they're very much able to hear what that category is doing and how that category is being purchased in the bank. So we had the first one we conducted for marketing, and we had 30 plus suppliers came and attended that. And the next one we are conducting is next week, which will be focused related to facility category, where again we are expecting suppliers to participate and get the benefit of that mentorship.
Thank you so much, Karuba. That was very informative. So next we have another question for Karuba from one of our audience members. So what is the turnaround time for a supplier to hear back from RBC on average? So I assume that's either when they've reached out to you or when they've put in an RFP. So perhaps you could touch on both of those scenarios.
Yeah, so typically I would like to look at it this way. In an RFP scenario where we have a defined timeline where suppliers are supposed to provide the response back, and then once a response comes to us and we have an internal evaluation and based on the evaluation process, and then the selection process takes place. Typically the RFP process from start to end, it might vary from either 4 to 6 weeks process or 8 to 12 weeks process. So again, if based on the project complexity, that might extend as well. If there are large RFPs, then the timeline will extend on that. So that's on the typical RFP process time. But in terms of supplier being, registering and getting some response, I don't want to say there is a defined timeline right now because we are trying to look at it, the supplier who could provide the need of our business. So there are sometimes, we look at the registration and keep the information in our database. And whenever the requirement comes from the business, we try to engage them out. So that doesn't have a defined timeline to say if they get a response, if they register, they will be getting a response back from us. Hope this helps.
Yes, thank you, Karuba. That was great. So we have another question here directed to RBC, but I think both Karuba and Anila can probably touch on this one. So the question is, RBC is a very big organization. So as a software company, where do we start engaging with an organization like RBC? Perhaps we'll go to Karuba, and then Anila can chime in with some advice.
Yeah, sure. So let me address, I think in my slide, I have provided 3 links on how to reach us. That could be the first start, I would say, for the suppliers in any field, they can register and start the process. Parallelly, same time, I would also request suppliers to get their certification process as well. The reason I'm mentioning that is if they are diverse suppliers, we get the feed from our councils who are the certified suppliers. Those database is being updated through that feed as well. So that also provides an opportunity for us to know who are the diverse suppliers are. And if any requirement comes in, we will be able to go and invite them to participate in any of the competitive sourcing events.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I can also add and validate this, that as soon as we got certification, so certification basically means filling out the application and getting some CAMC and WB officials to come over and audit and make sure that we are what we have reflected in our application. Once that is done, as a diverse supplier, you're given the opportunity to access this marketplace. It's on the website of both companies where there's a list of corporate members like RBC and other big players. And you can go and create a profile on that particular website of council and as well on the RBC or other corporate members website where there is a special link provided for diverse suppliers to create your portfolio. And based on your portfolio, it's very important to make sure you put your exact right portfolio there. Based on that, as Karuba said, anytime they are issuing an RFP, they run a search through that database to see what diverse suppliers are the ones that are most appropriate for this particular bid or RFP. And hence they can select. So it's two-way. You do your part to put and make your profile visible, and then they can also do it by searching your profile.
Great, thank you for adding that, Anila. And I think that's a great segue into another question here, which is around explaining the certification process. And maybe I can start with that. And can speak to, in general, in particular, the WBE Canada certification process. So as Anila said, it is straightforward. So it requires the business to submit some information, which is then reviewed by the council. It is, however, a comprehensive audit process because the council do want to ensure that the businesses are who they say they are. So the rigorous process starts by verifying that the business is 51% owned in the case of WBE by a woman or a group of women. In the case of CAMC, it would be 51% ownership by a minority or Aboriginal owner. And then the CGLCC, the Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce, has the same certification process for their certified businesses. So other than that, there is business verification, there's a review of the legal documents as well as the minute books. There is a complete review of the corporate organizational structure, the operational management. There is a financial review, and as Anila said, there is an assessor that will go to the site of the business and just have an interview with the people involved. So you can absolutely learn more on that by visiting the council's website. I hope that answers the question on certification without getting into too many details. We'll then go next to another question that I see popping up on the screen now. So from one of our participants, does RBC engage diverse suppliers to provide services or partner with RBC to support their small business customers? So in this case, the example is coaching and mentoring services.
So I'm kind of looking at this to understand because we conducted a forum where we invited some of our small business customers and then given an opportunity to network with our diverse supplier community as well. So we have done such type of activities, but coming back to the question I'm not able to understand is what does it mean by diverse supplier providing services to partners?
The way I read the question is RBC as a bank has many small business customers, so would there be a way to engage diverse suppliers who have services for those customers? That's how I read the question. If the person who posed it meant something different, I would ask that you just resubmit the question in the Q&A box.
Yeah, so again, we are trying to facilitate on, educating the supply diversity program to our small business customers as well. And we are also trying to see if any of our small business customers are eligible for getting the diverse supplier status as well.
And I think this may speak to some of the networking events, because I know that you do invite some of your clients to certain events. So it could be an opportunity for a diverse supplier to meet with one of the small business customers and strike up a relationship at that point. We do have another question now that will be posed to both Anila and Karuba. So wanting to get your insight on why supplier diversity has not advanced as much in Canada compared to the U.S. So if you have some insight on that, we'll start with Anila.
Okay, so I think I don't have a straight answer to that. I can explain through my experience is that supply diversity is advancing in Canada as well, maybe not as fast-paced as U.S., but still, if I look back from when I started the business, I always wish that I knew that these councils were there from that time, so my progress has been expedited. However, one thing that comes to my mind is, which I think Karuba can validate, is that sometimes this initiative of supply diversity and engaging diverse suppliers in business, corporate business, is a mandate provided from higher up officials, whether it's government officials or whether it's through the strong strategy, inclusion in the strategy of that corporation in itself to make it happen. So most of the companies, when they start their diverse supply program in Canada, it is out of their corporate program. So I'm not sure if this is as mandated in Canada as it is in US. This could be one of the reasons. But how I see it is slowly progressing, and we are the live examples of that, I never saw such frequent webinars, seminars, and networking events and education programs as I have seen now. So it is slowly progressing. So hopefully we can see a much faster progress in future.
Thank you, Anila.
Yeah, so Karuba from RBC, the way in which I look at this is, yes, it's definitely it's a much matured program in the U.S. because that has been running there for 40 years. Over 40 years when the program runs, you see the maturity. When I look at the Canadian space, I would say it's just 10 plus years. We are even the councils who has been formed in Canada to certify diverse suppliers. The first one was CAMC was in 2004. So prior to that, we never had. So if you really look at the way in which the program has been there right now at the 10 to 15, 13-year mark, the progress which we have is much aggressive, and there are a lot more rooms to grow, definitely. And we as a corporation, we are also asking the other corporations to support this. We are also asking the government to support this. I think over time, you see more and more support comes from different angles. This program will much mature. Which I want to highlight with the recent step has been taken place was the three councils, CAMC and WB and CGLCC formed an alliance to convey this message to the corporation and to the government on the supply diversity and the value and the importance of that. So that took place, just a few months back. In last December, we were able to showcase that to Parliament Hill about the benefits, and they are taking some initiatives. So over the time, you will be able to see that progress taking place, and which in turn the overall supply diversity program will mature in the Canadian market as well.
Thank you, Karuba. You're absolutely right. Part of the roles and responsibilities of the councils is to continue advocating. And by coming together as an alliance, we're able to strategize and do that even more so than we have in the past. So as Karuba said, it will continue to grow. So we are almost at the end of our session for today. So we have time for one more audience question if somebody wants to use the box to type something in. And while we wait for that, I will just ask Anila and Karuba if they have some last parting words or call to action. So go ahead, Anila.
Thank you, Stephanie. I think I would be very brief and would just relay the message to all the audience that are there as young entrepreneurs, the ones who have not started or thinking of starting, and the ones who have started and are going through the challenges to not give up. One of the message that I want to give is that persistence and perseverance is the key. It is definitely hard to be persistent. Throughout my experience that I've been there, the corporate members are there to help, but at the same time, what they want to see is that, how confident you are in your idea, how long-lasting it is. You're not going to disappear from the face of earth in 2-3 years. They want to also see that consistency, that consistent behavior, and push from you in a positive way to be there for them for some period of time, and just not give up. So that's my message to them. For those of you who don't know, but it took me about 2 years to be a partner with RBC. So, and it is, by any definition of a sales cycle, those of you who are there in sales, they give a 6-month time, and then they usually say that this is not a potential client. But I knew the value that I had, and I knew it's just a matter of time before I get to the right person to recognize that value, and it did happen at the end. So just don't give up, be there, it is going to happen.
Thank you, Anila. This is Karuba from the RBC perspective, and from supporting the supply diversity program. The message which I want to give to the audience is, one, don't think that large organizations are not difficult to think that it's difficult to get into them to do business, or don't think that large organizations might not look at the small suppliers. Many of the organizations today started to look at the small suppliers, and even as suppliers who has been recently established. If they are diverse suppliers, definitely the focus will be there, and they will look at it. So keep that eyes open and look for the opportunities and how to do business. But at the same time, keep in mind these are it's not just get those sales done in a day or two. As Anila mentioned, there is a cycle you need to go through on the commercial side of the business. I kind of define it between a retail business and a commercial business. You can sell a product in a store which will be a quick cycle time. But if you want to sell a product to a commercial side, it needs a different cycle time. That could vary, depends upon what type of product it is and how it's been evaluated. So that's where that takes a time too. Thank you.
Thank you, Karuba and Anila, for that last piece of advice. You are right. It is a process, and it does take time and patience, but definitely worth it. So thank you all very much, but unfortunately, we've run out of time for today. So on behalf of all our participants, the Hire Immigrants team, the RBC Royal Bank of Canada, our sponsor, I'd like to thank Karuba and Anila for an informative session today, as well as the practical tips that they've presented to us. Thank you all so much. Once the webinar recording and downloadable resources are available, you will all be notified via email. These resources will be made available at the hireimmigrants.org website, so please bookmark that page and share it with your colleagues and your network. So to our audience in Canada and beyond, please stay connected with us. So finally, before I let you go, our team values your feedback, and we'd like to hear your thoughts on today's session. So please complete our online evaluation by clicking the link on your screen or in your email. And that's it for our webinar today. So good afternoon and goodbye, everyone. So enjoy the rest of your Thursday, and we'll see you next time.